I don't really love this job. There are some days and some aspects that I love, but I also at times hate it. And I don't do this because I really love it. I do it because it needs doing. And if somebody doesn't work hard to keep King Stephen under control, things are going to get even worse than they have become. 14 minutes on.
14?
Yeah.
Just take you down to see Jackie for a second.
I'm Bruce Hyer. I am Bruce Hyer. I am the independent member of Parliament for Thunder Bay Superior North.
Bruce Hyer.
Come on in, Bruce. We're going to hit at noon.
That's
Good to see you.
Nice to see you. I'm Robin.
I've had a variety of creative ways to avoid getting a real job, and being a member of Parliament's just the latest one. As Jack and Olivia went paddling with me in the wilderness and persuaded me to run for the NDP, and so I joined the Jack Layton party. So who's interviewing me?
That's a good question. We'll ask once we get you all wired up.
Okay.
Okay? And I'll come back and get you when it gets closer.
So CTV gave me less than an hour's notice that I was going to be the lead story on the news. So I had basically, between driving here, etc., I had about 14 minutes to collect my thoughts and write them down. The story is they wanted me to talk about rail safety, and what I really want to talk about is nationalizing the national rail beds for CN and CP, moving the story up a notch and no longer rearranging the deck chairs on Via Rail, but really seizing control here. Ready for me?
Yeah.
And I can bring my glass of water?
Absolutely.
When Jack Layton passed away, things became less democratic in the New Democratic Party. And so I decided that I could more effectively represent Canada and my constituents in my riding by being an independent than being the member of any one of the three main parties.
Yeah. Drawback, I should say.
That's every Canadian.
That is every Canadian at the other end of that line.
Hi there, Canadian.
About that, I'm joined from Ottawa by Bruce Hyer. He's the independent MP for Thunder Bay Superior North. Thank you for coming on, Mr. Hyer. What are your major concerns in light of this latest derailment?
We simply don't have a national rail strategy. We don't have a national rail vision. It seems clear to me that the current government really wants to scale down and virtually get rid of Via Rail. And it's time that we turn this around and invest in Canadian rail infrastructure.
There you go. Thank you. Enjoy the rest of your day.
Relieved of duty.
You are. Thanks for coming in.
My dad was a Republican bank vice president, anti-environmentalist.
Bye-bye.
And my mom was further left than the NDP, artist and opera singer and radical environmentalist. So I not only am genetically a combination of those two people, I seem also culturally to be a combination. So I'm a left-leaning business person, or if you want to go even further, a left-leaning capitalist.
Called a warm-up talk, like the warm-up band for the main speaker, the main event. And the main event will be Bruce. Then the panel members will get, I said 5 minutes.
The Ontario Civil Liberties Association and Joe Hickey and David Burton scheduled this event to talk about income inequality, and I was pleased and flattered that they asked me to be their keynote speaker, and I hope that some of my ideas help stimulate discussion and thought.
Our next speaker, independent federal member of Parliament, Bruce Hyer, who is a representative of the people and a man of the people. And he's an independent because he wouldn't toe the party line. Anyway, let's have a big hand for Bruce Hyer.
There are two huge problems facing Canada: a large and growing income gap and a large and growing democracy gap. They are inextricably linked. Let me share a few brief comments on the democracy gap. I'm 67 years old. The Parliament of Canada is the most dysfunctional organization I have ever been involved with. One of my messages was that we desperately need to reform the House of Commons. And then the other big part of my message is I believe that we need Some people call it an adult, I call it an adult annual living allowance. Many people call it a guaranteed income, but I really believe that it's time to make sure that no one lives in abject poverty, eliminate the bureaucracy, and just give people directly the minimum amount of money that is required to make sure that they can get by no matter what.
I'm one of a growing number of people who are chemically sensitive and unable to work in the conventional workforce. Unfortunately, there is no precedent yet for anybody with chemical sensitivities being granted disability. My question is, what do you recommend as a meaningful strategy that somebody in this situation could take? Is there any kind of viable plan that we could approach?
If you have a good, hardworking MP, they may just be able to help you. But to go back to my talk, if we did have an adult annual living allowance for everybody, whether they're working or not, at the low-income cutoff, that's around $21,000 a year. Then you get $21,000 a year, and then maybe what you could do is have a home-based business of some kind that gave you a top-up so you could have a reasonable quality of life. Being an MP is quite grueling. If you only went to all the receptions and social events and canned speeches that you are asked to do and house duty that the party members are asked to do, it's a lot of work. If you add to that you actually read the legislation, consider it seriously, and prepare yourself adequately, it makes it more work. And if you actually introduce bills and motions to Parliament and have to research those, vet them, talk to lawyers about them, ask the Parliamentary Library to research them, then introduce them, it makes it harder still. And I'm quite proud that in my first 2 years in office here, I introduced more bills and motions to the House of Commons than all the previous members of my riding put together. For years I've been saying about certain people their elevator doesn't go all the way up. Here at the House of Commons that happens frequently. Here we go. Within hours of leaving the party, I lost my former palatial office and got a broom closet in the attic of the Confederation building. Many idealistic people like me get elected thinking they can work for Canada and their constituents, and they find that they are really customer sales representatives for their party in their own riding. And that's shameful. Hello.
Hello.
So did you catch the CTV thing? I did. It was a lot shorter. They said it was going to be 10, 12 minutes, and it was like 4. Anyway, another one or two may come up, so phone me if they do. Okay. I made reservations, say, a few days ago. It's to go from Armstrong, Ontario to Vancouver and back again. I feel like the prettiest girl at the dance. Several of the parties are wooing me quite avidly and would really like it if I joined their parties. One of the big criteria is no whipped votes on anything that is not in written policy or platform. And then also I really want to see some kind of carbon tax or carbon pricing. I really want to see a real commitment to proportional representation. And the one that's really important is I want to see a party get behind doing away with the requirement for the national leader to sign our nomination papers. In 1970, Pierre Trudeau changed the Elections Act to require that the national leader sign our nomination papers, so we can't run for that party. And they used this, all three major parties, used this as a club to keep their MPs under control and keep them being, as Pierre Trudeau described his own backbenchers after he did this, mere trained seals. As an independent, I truly believe that I'm having as much or more influence on government policy and standing up for my constituents and good ideas as I did as a member of a party. I call it driving the bus from the back seat. I think that at least half of all the MPs in the House of Commons are very dedicated, hardworking people, And they come from a variety of parties, even some of the parties that I don't agree with. So half of them are trying hard to do a good job and work very hard and are very ethical. About half of them, and not half of them, but maybe 40 or 45% of them are what I call pleasantly useless. And then about 5% of them, I'm ashamed to be associated with them. And a lot of them turn out to be cabinet ministers. I love trains, and I love taking via rail. Several communities in my riding are accessible only by via rail, and Collins, Allen Water Bridge, a couple of others. And so I enjoy using my MP pass for via rail to do that. I am determined to hang on to via rail, expand it, and restore it. And I'm determined not to let the Conservatives do what they clearly hope to do, which is, for the most part, do away with via rail as a publicly owned entity. Nice logo. I am dedicated to using a significant portion of my time and energy in the time that's remaining, in whether I'm in Parliament for 2 more years or 6 more years or 12 more years, to making Canada a cleaner, greener, safer, fairer, more equitable, and more sustainable place. That's all. That's all.